Been a while since it felt like this. Been a while since it felt like this. Been a while since it felt like
So the North Fork of the White River comes out of Missouri into Norfork Lake, and then below Norfork Dam, we call it Norfork Tailwater. Um, and that's just to keep it a little simpler and not as confusing. It's Lake Norfork, is the lake, so it's Norfork Tailwater versus Lake North Fork. I'm not exactly sure where or who kind of coined that or where that phrase came about, but it's definitely not Norfolk, like Virginia, right? There's no L in it. It's Norfolk. But yeah, Norfork River trout fishing is incredible. It is a completely different river than the White River in size. I would say the tailwater, Norfork tailwater, is 4.6 miles long. We have almost 100 miles of trout water on the White River, so it's a considerably smaller river. The middle 2.5 miles of it is catch and release. Artificial only, barbless hooks, and so the river has really probably the best rainbow trout in the state, just because so much of the river is catch and release. On average, you catch a lot more 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-inch rainbows over there, just general fishing, than you do anywhere else. It also has, I'm not going to call them rapids because that's silly, especially after, guiding out west, but has some riffles and some plunges and some drops and some waves and, just more features, I would say, than the White River. The Norfork has a little more diversity too, I would say, as far as the trout that are in it. We catch more cutthroats on the Norfork than we do on the White. I catch more brook trout over on the Norfork, it seems like, than I do on the White. Brown trout fishing on the Norfork is they're there. Some huge ones are in there, but it's at times a little more challenging than brown trout fishing on the White River. Some days you show up and fish the Norfork and you bust up on brown trout, but traditionally that's because there's caddis hatching or there's something going on. But I had some great hopper fishing days this year on the Norfork, and traditionally I don't. So you never really know. It's a true gem. Forever people called the Norfork tailwater the princess of tailwaters. And that kind of was the nickname it had when I came onto the scene here. And it's true. It's a really special river, and it's a lot of fun to fish, and it has some remarkable fish in it. Tons of nature, tons of eagles, osprey. I mean, it's a lot more wild feeling. Less houses, less docks, less, just less people. It's a really wild, scenic little river.
Sounds awesome. Makes me want to fish it.
Yeah, it really is. It's very hard for me not to go fish the Norfork tailwater if I check the generation schedule and they're running water there. The thing about the Norfork is if they're not generating, its minimum flow is about 300 and something CFS, 360 CFS, which is a wade fisherman's paradise. But you can't run a jet boat or a long boat really very far. I mean, you can fish the upper quarter of a mile or the bottom quarter of a mile, whatever, but you're not going to go traverse the river in it. You can float the river in a kayak or a canoe or a drift boat or a raft. But even in a drift boat, after a few floods that we've had, it's filled in some channels and some things have changed, and it requires getting the boat out, getting out of the boat, pushing, doing a little work. So that's I think one of the reasons people love that river. Wade fishermen love that river anyways, is because on the days that the water's low, they don't have to see us boat guys. They can truly go get an experience and not have, you know, some dude in a boat pushing fish out of their hole that they're trying to get up because they're fishing the channel and we're trying to run our boat through the channel and stuff. So, it seems like people really love it because they can get that kind of experience that they want, quiet, solitude, standing deep in the water, etc. So if you're heading to the Norfork tailwater, do some trout fishing, and you want to go on foot, there are only a couple of options. You can wade in at the dam at Quarry Park, um, and that's like Rock Quarry, Quarry. There's a great riffle right out from the boat ramp. Dry Run Creek comes in just above the boat ramp and pours out right into this riffle. So, as fish filter in and out of Dry Run Creek, you have, great access to them right in these riffles. And then just below the boat ramp, there's a really great eddy that, you see a lot of wade fishermen fishing in a couple of points. And if the water's, low, you can literally probably walk 3/4 of a mile downstream from right there. Now, you want to make sure you're paying good attention, that if they blow that horn, you can cross the stream a couple times and get back to your car, because the water's going to come up fast. But if they're not turning on the water that day, if the generation says it's off, off, off all day, then, you've got great access there. But probably the best access is at Ackerman, the Bill Ackerman access. Um, Locals just call it the handicap because there's a actual pier that you could roll a wheelchair out on and fish off of. But there's also a great little park there and a few islands upstream that you can walk up to and wade. There's, great flats downstream and riffles downstream you can walk to and wade. And from there, you can go into the catch and release or out of the catch and release, depending on whether you're a meat fisherman or you're just there for, catch and release fishing. But those are really your only two, access points that you can target on foot. But when the water's low, you can cover plenty of water to make a day out of it from those two spots. If you're going to target one specific species, I'll break it down by species. If a brook trout is on your bucket list and you've never caught a brook and you really want to catch a brook, fish by the dam. They're going to live in the coldest water. As the closer you can get to the dam, the better off you are. Brook trout are little carnivores. I mean, they're char and family, so they're an aggressive fish. Think about leeches, little buggers, small streamers, and that kind of I think gives you a little bit better chance at turning a brookie, getting that fight or flight mentality out of one. So up near the dam, maybe a small streamer probably runs your best shot at catching a brook. You're there just to catch rainbows. Those dudes are going to be, lining the middle of the river. They're looking for bright stuff. They love eggs. They love worms. They like midges. They like, um, scuds, sow bugs, all that kind of stuff is in the river every day, and it makes up a big portion of their diet. So, traditionally I run something bright and flashy as an attractor and then something natural below it, and you can bang on rainbows pretty good. If you're trying to catch a cutthroat, I think your best shot at catching a cutthroat's in the summertime. Those cutthroats or spring, those cutthroats love looking up, and in the spring we have our caddis hatch, and then some sulfurs hatch, and then terrestrials. And it seems like this year caught quite a few cutties on hoppers or hopper dropper or running a beetle or some sort of terrestrial on the edge, and that fooled quite a few cutthroats for me. Um, And if I was looking for a brown, I'd also fish those edges just because it seems like that's where those browns hang more, is on the banks, on the edges, and fish something that's a real meal, you know. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big streamer, but you know, a big girdle bug, a big worm, you know, um, a small minnow pattern, you know, just something that's got some substance to it. Remember, those browns are more of a nocturnal feeder, so during the daytime, they'd rather, you know, um, eat one meal and then go back under the ledge and chill, you know. So I would say that would be kind of my breakdown for targeting species, you know. So we've only got two accesses on the Norfork, one at the dam and then one at the confluence where the Norfork and the White River come together. And so people can put those boats in Quarry Park and float downstream. If you're running a motorboat, I traditionally suggest putting in at the confluence and running upriver and then fishing your way back down, especially if there's a chance they're going to kill the generators. It's always easier to get a boat back downstream than it is upstream if they've turned the water off, because most likely it's going to take you a few minutes to realize, hey, I think this water's getting shallower, you know? So now they've been running water for weeks. You know, they're not going to turn it off. You know, it's easy to drop in at the dam, but most of the time I stick my jet boat in at the bottom, run up and fish it, and for drifters and, you know, everybody start at the top at Quarry Park and float down to the bottom. Norfolk is kind of a cool little community. You know, it's about 30 minutes from Cotter, 20 minutes from Mountain Home, and it kind of is nestled, you know, just at the national forest, really. Leatherwoods, Buffalo, Sylamore, all these kind of forests kind of come together right around Norfolk. And the Ozark Highlands Trail goes through there. It's really a neat little area. But my favorite restaurant in all of Baxter County is in Norfolk. Actually, it's called Whispering Woods Cabin and Grill. They have a killer view looking out onto Norfolk Lake. He's a, you know, um, French trained chef from the UK. I mean, you know, it's real food, really cool. They got nice cabins and stuff. My parents just stayed there. So we love that place. We try to support them when we go down to Norfolk. Um, there's a great fly shop there, Two Rivers Fly Shop. For all my deadhead friends out there, I'm sure you guys have seen their logo. That's the Steely with the trout in it. But Drew runs it. She's a great girl, runs a cool shop, and it's definitely worth stopping in, you know, to get your flies for Dry Run Creek or Norfolk Tailwater. And then there is Heidi's Ugly Cake, which is like a sandwich shop, and you know, she does cakes and pies and dessert and stuff. But um, I know a lot of guides will literally put their boats on the trailer and go eat lunch there, and then put them back on the water because their customers like just demand it. They love it, you know. So people hit up Heidi's a lot. And then there's Norfolk Brewing, which is pizza and beer. And then there's Norfolk Adventure Supply. My buddy Jake Anderson runs it. It's kind of your hikers, bikers, you know, climbers, outpost. And his wife has a coffee shop called 1906 there, which I think is maybe when Norfolk was established or something. I'm not really sure, but it's a neat little town. You know, it's worth stopping in, checking out. It's a different vibe than Cotter and Mountain Home, and you know the other kind of communities in the area. So it's definitely worth, you know, if you're coming to the area, you might as well try to fish 2 days. Fish one day on the White and one day on the Norfolk. Really.
Been a while since it felt like this.